This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hansen.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. We're all about taking you to your highest vibe. We are the source for mind, body, and energy, knowledge. And hey, what falls into that is sometimes you gotta take a breath. You gotta breathe the right way. That's why we got renowned keynote speaker, world's leading corporate mindful trainers. He is Kurtis Lee Thomas. What's up, Kurtis?
Hey, brother. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Chris and I are pumped that you are here. We're ready to learn, ready to get our vibes on. I appreciate your patience in getting this scheduled and underway. So we're in Utah, right?
I am. Yeah, I'm in Utah as of right now.
You never know. World traveler, right?
Yes. Well, we all try. I just took a trip last year to all the sacred sites with one backpack and didn't know where I was going. I ended up sleeping in Mount Everest for 2 days in Egypt, going through the pyramids and the Himalayan mountains and India. And that was probably one of the most epic trips that I did because I did it solo. And you learn a lot about people and just people watching and different cultures. When you travel, you do enhance your consciousness. So traveling alone overseas is something I recommend for everybody. I'm
envious of people that can do that. Not just like the time or whatever, but I mean, I don't know. I don't consider myself like overly bougie, but the one bag, just throwing it and taking off and going to like 7 countries or something, I don't know. I admire it, but I'm envious maybe I just don't have the right mindset. I'm like...
I'm definitely not one of those backpacker people. So this was like super out of the ordinary.
I was about to say, Kurtis, I look at all your content. I mean, you're pretty sharp guy. It looks, I can't see you kind of just being rugged across the terrain. You know, not because you aren't athletic, but I don't know. You look like you might be like me, like to be comfortable too.
Yeah, man. It's like old ways won't open up new doors.
Hey,
so
there we go.
You got to go outside the box sometimes. And that was something for me that was like, all right, this is different. Let's try it out.
Kurtis, let's set the table for our listeners. Talk a little bit about your journey and what got you into this field. And then we can get into some practical advice for people. What I love about this show is we're trying to break down these myths that we can't self-heal, self-correct, and do sometimes simple things to really center ourselves and bring it back to reality. So, yeah, but let's set the table and talk a little bit about Kurtis Thomas.
I mean, openly vague question, but I'll say that I'm an explorer, man. I'm on this journey called life, like everybody else. When we're picking up pieces of the puzzle along the way, and we're all searching to align with our mission and our purpose, and along this journey, there's ups and downs, which it's supposed to be, right? It's meant to be a roller coaster. It's not meant to be a carousel, right? And when you just feel like you're going in circles and you know something needs to change, well, when something needs to change in your life, that something is you, right? So that's why I got infatuated with personal development, because I realized that I was the business that I needed to invest in, right? I was the relationship that I needed to grow. If I change myself, then everything else changes with me, right? If I take care of my mind, my body, and my spirit, my life will take care of itself. So I became a certification collector over the years, and first got started by being certified by ISA, which is International Sports Science Fitness Association, to become a personal trainer. Then I moved into life coaching, hypnotherapy, NLP, Reiki master, breathwork, everything. You know, I even was taking executives to the jungles to drink ayahuasca with the original Shipibos, and got into plant medicine, frog medicine, very invasive stuff and very natural stuff, Eastern wet medicine, Western medicine. Man, I was just discovering. And along that way, I figured out some stuff.
Yes. It's interesting, someone like yourself that seems to be such a learner, an absorber of knowledge. When you're getting certified, it's different than just going to a conference and learning a topic or something. But at what point is it about application versus absorbing?
Yeah. Well, information without application is just conversation.
Yeah.
That's why we got a generation on medication. But hey, that's just my speculation.
You had that one prepared.
I'm waiting like 3 years to drop that mic, man.
I teed it up for you. See, you bust me on being vague about who you are, and then I tee you up for your masterpiece. I see how it is, Kurtis.
Right, I'll never forget that moment, man. I promise you. Yeah, man, it's so important. You can get lost in the research and the information. And something really weird about this lifetime is we learn all this stuff and then we don't take action. And the problem with not taking action is visualization is great, but visualization without execution is hallucination. So you have to apply these things. If not, you just find yourself going into that carousel, right? Going round and round, circles. So applying action in also, I think people forget is you learn, you take action, but then also there needs to be a grace period for integration. Integration is a big part of it. You have to let what you're learning and doing kind of settle into your energetic field, and then you'll be able to produce a whole entire vibration. So integration, I learned over the years, is an important part of this.
Yeah. As you went through some of those things here and you call them out, the certifications, I mean, they're all sort of obviously personal development and improvement techniques, but some of them are pretty disparate, like far apart from one another. Like when I hear NLP, that puts me in a certain headspace, pun intended. But where did you find yourself? Like, is there one or the other that you like really gravitated towards, or like felt like you, or was it just always about additional knowledge and ability to train others?
Yeah, there was no particular one modality where I was like, this is the one, and I'm going to go all the way with it. It was more for me, I was just thinking like the hypnotherapy one at that time. That was in 2012. Part of me took that because I'm like, I can't get hypnotized. Like I kind of was like, yeah, let's see what this is about. Like it actually taught me a lot. One, everyone gets hypnotized minimum 4 to 5 times per day. Even when you go into the shower, they call it shower hypnosis. There's highway hypnosis when you're driving the highway. And then next, you don't really know that you're driving, even though that you're driving. And next thing you know, you end up where you're supposed to be. You go into these trance states, and we're constantly going through these trance states. But one of the things I learned in hypnotherapy school that I thought was fascinating was the brain doesn't know between what is real and what it's imagining. So if you look at people who love scary movies, right? So the body will have all these physiological responses. If you're watching a scary movie or actually going through something scary, your palms get nice and sweaty, your heart is racing and elevating, your adrenals are dumping cortisol into your body, and you feel like crap, but that intense, and like you're actually priming yourself to create these neural pathways of default crappy emotions. That's why like the first thing somebody should do is one, just stop watching scary movies. That's number one. But even I think probably worse than that is turn off the damn news. Because it's doing the same things in your body. Oh my God, I can't believe that happened. All these physiological responses in the body. There's enough crazy things in the world. You don't want to condition your body to continuously produce cortisol and stress hormones and all these things. Like it's crazy that how many people are priming their body with these hormones. And on top of that, even social media, right? We get our phones and we're scrolling, right? Doom scrolling. What we're actually doing is we are training our brain to defocus. When you're scrolling, like this would be the equivalent. Let's say all three of us were sitting on the couch and we're sitting on the couch, we're watching TV. It'd be the equivalent to me having the remote control, and every 3 to 5 seconds, I'm changing the channel for an hour. Like that would make us go crazy.
I'd be like, Kurtis, come on, man. Go on. You got the elbow already. Let's go, man. We're watching something.
But guess what? We do it every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And like, if you just look at it from that perspective, so many crazy things that we do to literally to defocus and to instill stress. So man, it's a wild world that we live in. It's much different times than 20 years ago and whatnot. So yeah.
What talk to me about NLP for a minute. Like, I'm always fascinated by it. So like when I saw that you had been trained in that and done the studies in it and been certified, that grabbed my attention. Like the voice inside your head. Like, I don't know. That's kind of how I think about it. I know I'm probably dumbing it down, but I have to do that, Kurtis. We got to dumb it down for the everyman.
It's funny because I'll be in events and I'll be like, oh, that little voice inside of your head. And then like people are looking like, and I'm like, raise your hand if you ever had that little voice inside of your head that talks to you. And I'm like, maybe it talks to you in unsupportive ways. And then people are like, I don't know what voice in my head. What voice is he talking about? I'm like, that voice. Yeah. It's like, it's there and it talks to us in our own voice. So sometimes we really don't know if we're thinking or we're listening.
Right.
Which is a deep rabbit hole. I don't think we're ready to go down that one now.
I like that one though.
That's a trick question, dude.
You know, are we thinking or are we listening to something? Because I think most people will believe they have guardian angels. I think spiritual people will believe they have a higher self. And I also think they'll believe they have a lower self. Some people may refer to that as the ego. Well, who's who? If they're all talking to us in the same voice, right? How do you distinguish who's who? And I love what Einstein said. He goes, when God's talking to you, when the answer comes to you within the first 3 seconds. So anything after that is the logical mind trying to get in and interfere and also justify the information, where intellect and intuition, they're much different. And I always tell my students, listen, your intuition will always trump my intellect. There's things that I'll teach people, but I'll say, hey, this is how it's supposed to be done. But if a situation comes up and you're intuitively guided to do this, always follow your intuition. And your intuition is going to come within the first few seconds. Now, to answer your question, all those certifications that I was kind of collecting and learning, the one thing I did find in breathwork, and I did say, this is the one, this is the secret sauce, because breathwork was the only modality out of all those modalities I listed that could house all of those other skill sets, such as the NLP, the hypnotherapy, which you'll see people go into self-hypnosis in breathwork. And their eyes will begin to flicker and flutter and they'll go into that rapid eye movement. And the NLP, I'll use NLP in that neuro-linguistic programming using certain words in certain order in certain times during the breath work. In the very beginning, I call it subconscious surgery. I'll ask them very specific questions, deep questions, like, or superficial, like, where do you feel you need the most change in your life right now? What story have you been telling yourself over and over again that you're finally ready to let go of, even if it's true? And when I ask these questions, I give them a little bit time afterwards, but I don't even need their brain to answer the question. I just need it to tap in and agitate where that answer resides within their body. And that's how I'm able to create this subconscious surgery, because we carry a lot of blocks and emotions and trauma in the body. A lot of people think it all goes on in the mind. Yeah, we're living a very mental life, but the body is our manifesting instrument, and it's very much connected to how we manifest. And we can clear out the body. You're able to clear out energetic blockages, and a lot of magic can happen. This is why you've heard this before. Your outer world is merely a reflection of your internal world, right? But they don't teach us how to impact our internal world, because it all happens here, and then that projection manifests depending on what's going on inside. And it's not just the mind, it's the body as well. It's very intelligent.
You said the intuition thing is being like the first one. I don't know about you. I mean, I've met some people like my ex-wife whose intuition I don't think is very good. So, and my 12-year-old son's intuition, I question. So how do we know who's got good intuition and bad intuition? Or I told it through the lens of a joke, but I've got to being serious, because I do think some people have better judgment than others. And I feel like some people are very reactionary to like that first thought. that may not be the best.
Yeah, they say life is really not what happens to us, but how we react to what happens to us, right? Which is, I think, something different than intuition, being reactive and intuitive. I mean, how can you tell when somebody is intuitive? That, I think it comes down to your intuition, right? Are you intuitive that person's intuitive, right?
Right.
Who knows? But not everybody is super intuitive, but it is a superpower. When they asked Steve Jobs, like, hey, like, what's your superpower? He said, my superpower is intuition. And they asked him, like, why don't you do focus groups? He said, I don't do focus groups because people don't know what they want until I tell them. And I love what Henry Ford said as well. He said, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have asked for a faster horse.
Yeah.
So it's like, these are people who have very, very high level, keen intuition, who use it in a way where they're so confident in what they know. That's part of the intuition, is you have people who are clairvoyant, right? They can see visions. And you have people who have clairaudient, right? They can literally hear things. And then you have claircognizant. They know things, right? And then you have clairsentient, where you just feel things. So I'm more clairsentient and claircognizant, right? When things come to me, I know this. I don't know. I just know it in and out. Every single cell, molecule, and fiber and atom of my being, it feels to be true in my heart of hearts, right? That is intuition. That is claircognizant and clairsentient, right? How, why, what do you think? I don't know. I feel. It feels right to me. This feels like the right decision. And that's stuff like Steve Jobs had, but many people are different in their gifts, their superpowers.
Yeah.
And that one was intuition for him.
Well spoken, because I think you nailed it. Because I think I sometimes lumped resourcefulness with intuition, but they're kind of two different things. And hearing you describe it, they are a little different. And because someone could be not very intuitive, but they can be over resourceful to make up for it to a degree, like working for it. I don't know, just something. Because when I use characteristics of people that I like to hire, I like intuitive, resourceful people.
Me too. 100%. Yeah. And I think that's, it's important, because we don't know everything, but knowing of the right decision to make in the right time, what more can you ask for that? So it is a huge quality, not just in business, but even in relationships, even friends. And I have a male friend, extremely intuitive, so much where I respect their intuition and ability to make decisions, whether it's in business or certain dealings, because I trust their intuition. And intuition goes along with character, right? And things like that. So yeah, it is a big deal.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Ryan and Chris here. I want to talk to you about Apollo, our official partnership with the wearable. And look, we talk about it all the time. The research is out, guys. There's no hiding. Sleep is one of the most important things to your overall health and wellness. And that's why we love what we're seeing from Apollo. I'm using it. Chris has been an advocate for over 3 years. Talk about it, Chris. I know it's been helping with your sleep.
Yeah, man, I'm super stoked. The Apollo wearable device, I've been using this for 3 years. Anyone that knows me knows it's on my ankle or wrist all the time, including in my bed, which may seem a little odd that I sleep with this, but they've got all these different modes. Sleep mode kind of eases your body, eases your mind in that relaxed state. It helps you kind of calm that nervous system where you're hacking your brain in a way. But I'll tell you what, you can even set it on a schedule where it'll ease you into sleep. Then you can set it 6 a.m., 7 a.m. It'll gently wake you up. All of a sudden it's vibrating faster. It's pulsing faster. It's sending this frequency through your body, alerting your nervous system, time to wake up. So tons of uses. You can set it where it's easy to work for you. Set your schedule through the day, energy, social, sleep, calm, meditate, anything you want. There's a different mode for.
Look, ApolloNeuro.com, 15% off. Use Vibe Science, VIBE Science. This is a great deal with a great partner that's leading innovations. You won't believe the data. You won't believe the results, just like Chris. We'll see you soon. You think about, use the Steve Jobs example, but Elon Musk, there's a lot of guys that if they had stopped to do the focus groups, some of these ideas would have never happened, because exactly, being in marketing, my whole life, I know this thing that if you ask two people, they don't know what they want. You got to show them. They think with their head and they buy with their heart.
Yes. You just summed up marketing.
Talking with Kurtis Lee Thomas. He is a best-selling author and certified in a lot of things important. We'll just say that. Talk to us, Kurtis, a little more about the breath work. I mean, that's a lot of what you're doing now, I know. And it's a fascinating thing for me. Another thing my friend Chris here turned me on to, like the simple things, but how powerful it is. Talk a little bit more about what you learned and just maybe some of the techniques, or let's get actionable for our audience. Yeah.
So breath work for me was the secret sauce. When I found this, I was flabbergasted on the profound effects that it had, because I actually had a stomach condition that doctors couldn't heal me, couldn't fix me. They couldn't even diagnose me. And it was really bad, to the point where I walk around probably like 185, and I lost weight to, I was about 140 to 145. And I thought I was dying of cancer. I literally got tested of everything you can imagine. And mind you, I did every modality from Eastern medicine, Western medicine, and I was suffering bad. And just to put into perspective how bad it was, I checked myself into LA County Hospital. This was the second time. And I told them, listen, cut my stomach open. I'll sign the waiver. I need to know what's going on. And the reason why I was at that level of desperation is because I already did 3 colonoscopies, endoscopies. I swallowed like 2 or 3 pill cameras. I did all this stuff. And I thought I had parasites from traveling to India and Thailand. And they were like undetectable parasites of the new paradigm. Everything, the hypochondria, mine was going. And they didn't cut me open. And luckily, thank God they didn't, because it wasn't just weeks after I found this ancient breathing technique, and one freaking session completely eradicated my stomach condition. Wow. Literally overnight. And it took me 3 days to wrap my head around how this was even possible, when I spent tens of thousands of dollars and co-payments of the best doctors, east to west. And I realized the reason why those doctors couldn't heal me or fix me is because my issue wasn't physical. It was emotional. It was energetic. And even with all those even with all those certifications, they didn't teach me how to cleanse out old repressed emotions, trauma that I've been holding on to. And this is stuff that I had to learn, and breathwork was the key thing in helping me heal. And once that healed me from something I was suffering for 5 years, I knew this was it, because nobody knew about this technique. And I was like really amazed. There'd be yogis that I'd talk to. They were practicing yoga 20, 30 years. And I'm like, hey, you should try this. And they're like, I've been doing pranayama for this long. And then they come to do one of my sessions and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that was possible for the breath. So there's really 4 things benefits that I learned about breathwork that it does, that I think the reason why people are gravitating towards it, and why I think breathwork will be the new yoga, even better. And the reason why I say better, Bloomberg did state breathwork is the new yoga, is about to be everywhere. But there's a very low barrier to entry with breathwork versus yoga and meditation. If you take yoga, 54% of the world's population can't bend down and touch their toes. Plus, people who are overweight, body shaming is a real thing. They don't want to put on a leotard, go to a class and bend over in front of people, whether it's a guy or a girl. So there's a barrier to entry with yoga and that flexibility. And to be honest, yoga without breathwork is just stretching. So the spirituality comes from adding the breath with the poses. Now look at the barrier to entry to meditation. It's even bigger, because how many people are suffering with ADHD? How many people here can't focus or get bored easily? Would they do studies that the goldfish has a larger attention span than a human right now? So and everyone's stressed out. Harvard just put out a study and said 60 to 90% of all doctor's visits are stress related. So if you try to get somebody who's already stressed out to sit down, sit still, and don't think a thought for the next 20 minutes, they're going to get more stressed out. So that's why I think meditation is more of an advanced practice. So if you're like cleaning your car, you're going to clean your car with a power washer, right? Or you're going to clean it with a toothbrush. You're going to clean it with a power washer. And that is what the inner work of breathwork is. You have to go in and do that deep work, clean with the power washer. That meditation is that toothbrush, right? It should be done for maintenance. And when you learn to adopt a breathwork practice first, then meditation not only becomes more effective, it becomes more enjoyable. And the thoughts aren't as crazy, because trying to calm the chaotic thoughts that we have, the average thoughts between us and everyone listening is about 55,000 thoughts per day. Well, 80% of those daily thoughts are negative in nature, and only 20% are positive. But the crazy part is 98% of our daily thoughts were the same thoughts we had yesterday and the day before. So we're sitting on this hamster wheel, recycling all these shitty emotions and thoughts every single day. So how do you break the neural pathways in the brain? Because the brain is always going to default, right, to the path of least resistance. So the default, these neural pathways need to be broken up. Breath work is the most effective way in breaking up the neural pathways in the brain. And so many benefits happen within just one session. I'm not just talking self-hypnosis. I'm talking deep emotional healing. I'm talking extreme profound clarity and things that are induced in the brain, like transient hypofrontality and detoxing, right? Everyone's detoxing, especially in the summertime, right? People want to detox. They want to lose weight. I think one of the most astounding things I learned about breathwork, which I stumbled onto it by mistake, and that is the weight loss. So we have a program called Breathwork Bootcamp. And my intention was to have this program so people would people could relieve themselves emotionally, right? Have a energetic reset, a reboot. And all of a sudden people started sending us pictures of their waistline, right? I lost 15 pounds. I lost 12 pounds. I'm like, what the heck? And then we did the research because it kept happening. And we realized that 70% of the body's toxins are released through the lungs. So all these detox teas and everything, 70% of all the body's toxins are released to the lungs, and 8.5 out of every 10 pounds of weight loss is through breath work, is through carbon dioxide. That's 85% of all weight loss is actually through a gaseous exchange of breath work. And not to mention, stress not only makes us stupid, but stress also makes us fat. So when we get stressed, the adrenals produce cortisol. That cortisol goes into our system and it makes us crave crappy foods. So when we do the breath work, it not only drastically cuts down on our stress, but it doesn't have us craving these crappy foods anymore. So we kind of like turn this thing into the guilt-free weight loss program. Like, this isn't new. You can't go on my site and like find this, but there's something there, and we will probably double down and create a program based around that, probably within Breathwork Bootcamp. And that's just like a fraction of the things that Breathwork does and why I like it. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm sitting over here taking deep breaths.
I know, I'm like counting my breaths as you're talking and sitting here going, we're going to blow some minds with the losing weight part. I mean, it's like we want to, and that's what's so fascinating to me, like what you can learn and how much we overthink certain things. And when it's sometimes some of the most, I don't know, simple things. I'm not saying, you got to know how to breathe. That's what you teach people to do. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's
how much we don't know.
I know.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, just your example of I think you said the gym, Ryan. Like, I've had a doctor buddy of mine, actually. He's an MD. A couple months ago, started working with a trainer and literally was like, dude, I wasn't even breathing correctly when I was exercising. Just simple stuff like that, where it's like, we're not talking about healing deep wounds. This is literally just every day. I mean, even the way we breathe, right? Most of us breathe in through our lungs. Isn't it more beneficial to be breathing deep into your belly in emptying your belly?
Yeah. So if you look at like a dog or a fish or look at a baby, watch a baby breathe. When a baby breathes and takes the inhale, watch what moves. The belly moves, right? The belly moves out like this. But if you watch a human breathe, what? It's all up here in the collarbones and the clavicles, and we hold all of our stress and our tension up here. And then also our diaphragms get tight and blocked. So it's very difficult for us to have that deep diaphragmatic breathing. And that is extremely important because most people are doing paradoxical breathing. They're breathing the opposite. They're breathing all up here instead of down here. And that needs to change. We need to breathe into our gut. Why? It is the magical center of your body. If there was one place that held more magic in your entire body, it is your gut. 80% of your serotonin is produced there. 80% of your immune system is produced there. So just right there, that's 80% of your health and your happiness. And I guarantee you, if I said, hey, here's $10 billion right here, will you trade this for your health and your happiness? You wouldn't do it, right? Because the health and happiness is everything. Now, on top of that, my issue that I had emotional things I was holding on to. Well, we store a lot of our emotions in our belly. This is why when people are going through breakups and whatnot, they'll gain a lot of weight around their belly because subconsciously we actually put weight there because of the emotions we're holding. We don't want people to see that vulnerability. So we'll put weight there, and it's an energy center. So we can store a lot of junk there. So there's one place in the body where all the energetic pathways and all the energetic highways that pass through your body intersect and connect. And I call it the Times Square of your energy body, and that is in your belly. So you have 72,000 nadis, and nadis are those energetic highways. Now, how I explain nadis to somebody is, I think we can agree we have blood in our body. Everybody knows that. And how does that blood get distributed? It gets distributed through veins because we can see it. Well, I think everyone can agree we have energy. Science is saying we're made up of more energy than we are matter. And you can walk into a room, say that person has good energy. This is good vibes. We all believe in energy in some sense. So how does energy get distributed throughout the body? Well, we can't anatomically cut our body open and see the energetic highways, but they're called nadis. They're there. And all 72,000 of them intersect in the belly, in your Times Square center. So that breathing into the belly is so crucial for just mental health, for your power, equanimity, so many different reasons. And that was what led me to breathwork. I wasn't breathing in my belly. In fact, I had a blockage behind my belly button, which is called your wind gate, which is all the energy passes in and out. And if you have a block there, it can wreak havoc on your nervous system. And that was my issue.
It's really fascinating to me. I'm sitting here thinking like all this stuff, and I'm sitting there like trying to breathe into my belly. So Kurtis, let's do some actionable stuff like people. Like, what are some exercises or types of breathing that you coach people on and how to do it?
Cool. So I'll say this. So I'm not one of those breathwork coaches that's going to show off all these cool techniques that I have and give you 35 of them, because if I give you too many, you're not going to do any. Yeah. So what I did was I distilled it down to the very practical ones that you can use every day that actually work. I think the most underrated breathing technique is actually the sigh. And we've all sighed before, right? So let's just do a sigh together. Ready? On the count of three, all three of us are going to do a sigh. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Build it up. Okay, now let's dissect what the heck just happened, right? When I said 1, 2, 3, you didn't immediately sigh. You actually built it up. You built it up. You built it up. You built it up. You built it up. And what happens is the sigh is the body's natural way to release tension, pain, and discomfort from the body. It's the natural way. So when the body has all this pain, tension, and discomfort, build, and all of a sudden it does a sigh of what? Relief. A sigh of relief. So if the body does that naturally, then we can reenact that. and we can voluntarily induce that. And when we do that purposely, we can begin to remove all the excess pain, excess stress that the body's holding on to. And everybody knows how to sigh. I don't even need to teach anybody, even if they're listening. If you do 3 sighs in a row right now, while listening to this podcast, do 3 of them in a row, and you'll instantly feel your just mental and emotional state change and shift within just 3 sighs. So that is one to do. You can even have fun with it and say, hey, you know what? Doorways and entrances. You say, okay, every doorway that I walk through today, I'm going to do a sigh. And then you start doing cool things like that, right? Every time I get in and out of my car, I'm going to do a sigh. Just pick one of them. Don't do it, because you're going to be surprised how many doorways you walk through on a daily basis. And then you have to be prepared for people saying, is everything okay? Are you all right? Because people do that. I'll be sitting there, I'll be like, and they're like, are you okay? Is it a stressful day? Like, hey, don't worry about it.
My wife and I'll have to do this together. Otherwise, she's going to think I'm suddenly sighing over everything she says.
Yeah.
She's just like, what's gotten into you, dude?
Yeah, like,
I just walk around the house.
Honey, I just walked into the room.
Yeah.
You're like, there's a doorway, Nicole. It's not you.
The doorway.
It's the door frame.
Yeah. No, but I like that. Okay. That makes sense.
So that's
you breathe in through your nose or through your mouth? Or does it matter? Like when you do the sigh.
For the sigh, it doesn't matter. What I find myself doing is I like to breathe in through the nose, because I feel like I can control it more. And like, I guess the advanced version would be if I feel discomfort in my body, let's just say, between my shoulder blades and my back, I feel something, right? Because I'm constantly checking in with my body. I'll breathe in through my nose into that area. And I feel like you can control it more in through the nose. And then also when you breathe in through the nose, you're getting all that oxygen and good pH through those channels into the brain. So I'll choose to breathe in through the nose. Now, I will say this, 99.9% of the time, you should be breathing through your nose. With Breathwork Detox, the modality that I teach and certify people in, it's done all through the mouth. In through the mouth, out through the mouth. And people are like, well, why is that the case? Well, first of all, you can't achieve the things that we achieve by nose breathing. It could only be done through mouth breathing. So the nose is typically connected to rest and digest in your parasympathetic nervous system. The mouth is connected to your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight. That is the area that needs all the healing. That's where we hold all that trauma and stresses in that sympathetic nervous system. And once we clear out all that junk in that fight or flight, then the body will automatically shift over to the parasympathetic. So this is the philosophy of how this stuff is able to heal a lot of people's anxiety that they're going through. And that's been a lot of the cases caused me to write the book, Breathwork Detox, How to Thrive in the Age of Anxiety. And I love clearing this misconception. People think that, oh my God, Kurtis, you wrote this book, you have this company, you train people, you're the best breather in the world. No, I actually was probably the worst breather in the world. And that's what got me into this, man. I remember I was having a conversation, unthreatening. I was clenching my left fist and holding my breath during the conversation. And the only reason I realized in this particular moment, I was probably doing it for years, is that at the very last second, when I was probably about to pass out, I went, and I had a gasp for breath. And I was like, what in the world was I just doing? Did I just gasp? But why was I holding my breath? Why is my fist clenched? So I was the worst breather, horrible anxiety. And the fact that I can get on a podcast, looking you guys in the eye through this camera, right? And be able to do this work is a miracle from where I was at. So man, if I can be in this position here, it makes me excited because I know I can help many people. And we've already have tens and thousands of people. I went through my events and I have hundreds of miracles, stories, literally miracles of things that people have healed from or overcame. And even celebrities have reached out to me and shared their testimonials. So, but I want to impact the masses on a much larger scale, millions, if not billions. And I think that's why I've been shifting into working with corporations like Nike. We worked with NASA. We did their most impactful mindfulness event. Nike, we did the largest mindfulness event. And both companies put on record that the event I did for them, it was game changing. completely changed how they work within the organization. Even Nike that year did a breath campaign, Q1 of 2024, focused around the breath. So it's really good to be able to make an impact on the masses. That's where I'm going with this. That's why I'm really focusing on certifying teachers to go out there and do what I do.
If you want to thrive, you got to sigh.
Got it. Print the t-shirt.
Yeah. Kurtis, man, it's interesting. You have a tone about you because when you talk, I feel like I almost get in this meditation zone. So I can tell you're a great teacher. It's like,
Thank you, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, man. Where can everyone learn more about your programs, both the corporate side and or the individual side, or even like you said, like there at the end, the training stuff? Where can everybody learn more about those specifically?
Yeah, so I would say, well, one, if somebody just wants to follow me, the content and the things I offer, pretty active on Instagram. So Instagram, my name is Man From The Stars, Man From The Stars, and I'm pretty responsive on Instagram. I try to get to everybody. So that'd be number one. And as far as breathwork, the headquarters for that would be breathworkdetox.com, breathworkdetox.com. And on there, you'll see that I do virtual events every 2 weeks, every full moon and every new moon. You look outside, you see a full moon, I'm doing an event. And that's how we time them, literally like by the moon cycle. So if somebody wants to experience this, because trying to describe breathwork, which I've attempted, is like trying to describe a kaleidoscope to a blind person.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult, if not impossible. So breathwork is something that cannot be described or explained. It can only be experienced. So with that said, I highly suggest that the technique of the deep diaphragmatic breathing that we do in breathwork, if you are going to try it, there's no more powerful and cathartic modality out there on the planet than breathwork detox. So if you do try that deep diaphragmatic breathwork, I do suggest you do it with a trainer or a guide, right? Even if it's not with me, I don't care. I just want somebody to experience it, but make sure you experience the right technique and with the guide at first. And then if people want to go through that virtual experience, I created a code for you guys called Podcast 50. So they'll get 50% off their first time trying breathwork, and they can come taste the Kool-Aid. And then after they experience it, there's all different types of things that they can go into. They can go into membership, breathwork bootcamp, or they can get certified and become a teacher. And pretty much I teach them everything that I learned about this in a retreat setting or virtually as well. And that's all found on breathworkdetox.com. And we get free consultations, and we're pretty responsive to building this community.
Love what you're doing, man, and really respect your approach. And hey, man, who doesn't want to be a man with the stars? Yeah. No wonder we got the moon phases, the stars. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. I've got my guy back here. I don't know if you can see my little astronaut.
I know. I love that. On brand.
Yeah, that's sick. Pretty cool, man.
Chris, any final thoughts here with Kurtis?
Hey, man, I appreciate you sharing your knowledge. Like I said, breathwork it's newer to me. Maybe a year and a half I've been learning it. You got to experience it, because most people are like, oh, I breathe every day. All right, dude. Yeah. Check Kurtis out, some breathwork.
I just sigh when people say that.
Yeah. It's like you don't realize this, but that sigh was actually me doing breath work out of the frustration of your non-belief.
Breathing in frustration and taking it out.
That's the illusion issue you were talking about earlier.
Like you said, no barrier of entry, and it works. I probably do breath work at least twice a day, and I don't know if that's a lot or not, but whether I'm in traffic or I'm in the sauna, it's been a value to my life. It's helped me definitely recenter and kind of.
Yeah, like you said, man, everyone's breathing, right? It just comes down to conscious breath work, and there's different types. Like breath work it's an umbrella term for many different types, but it's really conscious breathing, and there's different types of breath work that you can achieve amazing things. And one's for anxiety, one's for panic attacks, one's for stress, going into a meeting, going on a date, releasing trauma. Like there's all different types. So yeah, it's the new wave for sure.
Yeah. And I encourage everyone listening. Kurtis said this and Chris kind of reiterated it. A lot of what we're doing with this show is you got to make space for things. And you can say, and Kurtis gave us a couple of examples, like, great, okay, you can go do that. But if you don't make space with like a coach like Kurtis or someone on his team and time and set it out, you're not going to get to it. So you have to create space, time, and get the coaching that you need. So go check out Breathwork Detox. We really appreciate you, Kurtis, for coming on the show.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Had fun.
Hey guys, you know where to find us, vibescience.media. We'll have the links to all of Kurtis's stuff, his social media, and that code that he mentioned for 50% off. You can find Chris and I both on Instagram as well. Chris Broby Hansen. I'm Ryan Alford. We'll see you next time on Vibe Science.
The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe